Before we get started, we wanted to thank Liberty Mutual Surety for sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. Liberty Mutual Surety provides contract and commercial bonds for all size companies and contractors around the world. Liberty Mutual is here for you today, tomorrow, together. For more information on Liberty Mutual's breadth of surety products and solutions, visit www.libertymutualsurety.com. Now on to our show.
You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Let's Get Surety. I've got my co-host with me today, CEO of NASBP, Mark McCallum. Hey Mark, thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Great to be back. I know we got a special guest with us
We
today.
do have a special guest. We're going to be talking about the DNA of champions in sports and how it relates to business, and especially for us, the business of surety. So to do that, we have with us Ross Bernstein, best-selling sportswriter and author of more than 50 sports books, and he's also a professional speaker who speaks around the world.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being on with us today,
Thanks,
Ross.
Kat. Thanks, Mark. So great to be with you. What an honor to be your opening keynote speaker. This is such an amazing conference. If you're not here, you missed it. If you're here, it's incredible.
Well, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the topic?
Sure. I'm, like you said, I'm a sports nut. I'm a working member of the media in Minnesota where I live, so I get to work with teams, and I've interviewed thousands of professional athletes over my career, and I've written about 50 books about sports. And then as a professional speaker, I keynote about 140 conferences a year all over the world, and I talk about the relationship between sports and business, how it ties to sales, to leadership, to customer experience, dealing with change. So a simple topic that everyone kind of loves. It's kind of universal, and I get to be with you today. And today I am an expert in bond surety.
I love it.
Anything you want to know, let me know.
Hey, sports begins with an S, surety begins with an S. We're
It's
all
a
good.
match
We're all
made in
good.
heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're talking to a lot of accomplished, what I call champions. But I wonder, there's probably some ingredients there that makes them a champion, that makes them successful in their field. Maybe you could enlighten us a little bit about that, and do you see that translating into other areas of endeavor?
Yeah, it's a great question. So definitely, that's in my program, the Champions Code. I try and talk about the DNA of champions. Okay. I talk about these people, and I share stories, and I kind of talk about unique things that make them really unique and how that translates back to them running a more effective bond surety business or whatever touch point that they do, how to hire people and keep people, how to just build relationships. I mean,
right.
this is the ultimate relationship business. It's a very niche financial services business. Not a lot of people know about it. Everyone needs it, but it's
We wish more people knew about it.
Yeah, we do.
It's such an important. I didn't know what it was, but after learning about it, I'm like, wow. Without it, we wouldn't have a world. So right away, I wanted to just thank everyone for what they do and really acknowledge what an important, really amazing thing is that this is, and how nothing would get built in this country without what these people do. So it's really awesome. So I there's the cliche things about working hard. But really, I work with a lot of top producer sales groups all over the world, and really, they're just like, 90% of them are just like you and I. There's the 10% outliers, the Michael Jordans of the world who are freaks, but really everyone else is just like you and I. They just want it more. They lift more weights, they watch more film, they run more, they train more, they're more dedicated, and it's more about consistency. They do it every day, and they don't take days off, and I think it's the same in your world, right? The top producers are the ones that make more calls, they set up more meetings, and they're willing to just grind a little bit harder. So as I say in sports, it's easy to get to the top, but what's really hard is to stay at the top, to not be a one-hit wonder, to be able to do it year in and year out, to create an amazing company, to kill people with service and kindness, and to hire and keep great talent, and to really keep customers that it's not about the price. It's about, we just love you, you're our guy, you're our gal, and you're our trusted advisor. And how do you get to that point? So I just try and share ideas to get people thinking differently about how they can hopefully, take their business to that next level.
Well, I love that word grinder, because I think it is directly applicable to successful producers. I mean, they're out there, and they're very service focused, so they're always trying to anticipate the needs of their clients. And they, when I have conversations with them and I ask them about, what are you proud of? They always couch it in terms of a client growing their business, being a mentor, being an advisor. Is that something you found when you've interviewed some of the sports personalities that you talk with?
Yeah, well, I love what you just said. My second slide out of my deck is about Wayne Gretzky and about being generous. And I talk about how Wayne, he's the all-time leader in goals, but he was the all-time leader in assists, but he had twice as many assists than goals. And Wayne had this great line where he said, a goal makes one guy happy, but an assist makes two guys happy.
Wow.
And I tie that back to business. To what's that next great assist? What's that next great referral? Who could you mentor, right? I think that, champions in sports and in business are people that give and they serve. And that's what's cool about this business. I mean, I'm here because Nick Newton wanted me to be his guy and come in, and we've gotten together. We both live in Minnesota. We're both big Vikings fans, and and we connected through sports. And Nick's a really giving guy, and I love the fact that in his presidency, he decided that, instead of giving away one award, he was going to give away 3 awards because there's no rules. And it's like, hey, if I'm going to volunteer and do this, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I love that. To be able to honor, acknowledge, to thank others, to, really, and that's what this group, you've got a whole room over there, 800 people of competitors who said, you know what, high tides raise all ships. Let's not fight over a little piece of pie. Let's come together as a group. Let's advocate for each other. Let's lobby for each other. Let's be cheerleaders for each other. Let's make the whole damn pie bigger. Let the whole world know about bond surety and how important it is. And I love that. It's not a bunch of people fighting over little things. It's saying, let's come together. And that's what's cool about this group is they all came together today and this week, and they're just going to celebrate and try and make things better in your world.
Well, if you know Nick, then you know a passionate individual. Yeah. And it's something that, it's something he espouses, he exemplifies, but he's not alone. I mean, we're very fortunate as an industry that you have to be passionate to go out there, and those that are seem to be very successful.
Yeah. That's my big. I said as an homage to Nick, my first slide was passion. I talked about Kirby Puckett, one of my favorite Minnesota Twins. And as I say, it's like if you're not passionate, if you're not really obsessed with what you do, you're not going to be very good at it. You're just pushing the rock up the hill, as I say. It's just a job. Yeah. But the people that love what they do, and that's how it is in sports. I mean, that's why I love hanging around professional athletes. Right? It's like the fountain of youth. They love it.
Right.
They do it for free. The fact that they get paid is a byproduct of what they love. So you're not going to love every part of it. You're not going to love it, but it's that consistent grind mentality of saying, you know what, I don't like. Look, this is my. I literally have woken up 16 straight days in different cities. It's a grind, but
it's a little bit of passion right there.
Seriously.
But I love what I do, and let's be real. I mean, I'm a top producer in my world, but look, there's weeks where I work and where I have nothing going on. Yeah, I never know how these things are going to line up. But people book me a year out, so this week it's a great week. It's hard, but my wife travels with me. We created a lifestyle business. One of my favorite things to brag about is my daughter became Delta Airlines' youngest ever diamond medallion at the age of 13.
Awesome.
So we'd bring her with us all over the world. Yeah. She'd been to all 7 continents by the time she was in junior high. So we just embrace it and lean into it. And it's like, look, it's going to be a grind. I'm going to miss some birthday parties. But that's how this world is, right? You make hay when the sun shines and you just go.
Right.
So sometimes you can be really busy, sometimes you're not. And that's what makes the great ones. That's what's unique about Tom Brady is just the consistency. Like you're going to have those bad days. You're going to get killed. It's just how do you rebound? How do you come back?
Right.
So it doesn't kill you. And you're
resilience,
right? Just to be able to do those things.
Yeah, so. Dusting yourself off and looking forward and so forth.
It's cliche, but I think there's just so much you can learn that really, if you just, and that's what was so cool about this, the fact that everyone was here. They chose to invest. They're not on Zoom. They're not working back in their businesses. They're here working on their business. And they were present, and they're just, when you sit there and you see people taking notes, and it's just like, okay, and you see people, you sit back as a speaker and you watch some guy, and all of a sudden he goes, and then they pull out their notepad, and that was $1 million idea. There's something that as a speaker that's very rewarding. Like someone had something that was impactful to them. And look, this was a rough stretch. You guys hired me. This group hired me in 2019. Yeah. And then the pandemic hit and they canceled. And they had paid me. I wrote a check back. Yeah. That was a painful check to write. I didn't know if I was ever going to get on stage again the rest of my life. No one knew.
None of us knew. Yeah.
And I hung with them, and I kept calling and calling, and eventually, like the next year, it's like, well, we're going virtual and we're going to a different theme, and then the next year it's like, no, but you just keep grinding, right?
Yeah.
Right. You just keep
hanging
calling.
In there, grinding.
You don't want to be a pest, but you say, hey, and then sure enough, Nick's like, you know what? I think this would be great. And here we are 5 years later, and that's how all my clients are. I look at every speech I give, the DNA goes, oh yeah. I mean, even this one, I met a guy 8 years ago, Don Appleby, from Holmes Murphy, and then I saw him again at the Colorado Contractors Association, and he recommended me to Nick.
Yeah.
One leads to the next, leads to the next.
Right.
There's a DNA of every gig. Every client comes from somewhere, so I'm grateful, and you just keep grinding. And you know, where a lot of my competitors went broke during the pandemic, I had one of my best years ever. And the reason I'm so busy right now is because of all the work I did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I reached out to a lot of clients and I said, hey, let me come in for free. Let me just help you. I don't want to monetize it.
Right.
Let me just, who can I recommend to you? How can I be of service to you? I don't care about the money. If I do a good job, you'll remember me down the road. And a lot of them remember me down the road.
So I love that too, because I think that's directly applicable to what our folks do. So those touch points, it's like maybe something happens and it doesn't always work out the first go round, but maintaining those touch points, you can't always foresee how it will. But if you maintain those touch points, it's going to pay dividends at some point. And just
to be the trusted advisor, where you're not, it's like, for me, it's like, oh, okay, well, you didn't pick me as a speaker. That's okay. Who can I recommend?
Yep.
Hey, you know what? Let me recommend someone. Let me be of value to you. Let me, I just had a client email me and say, hey, we're having a big conference. We didn't choose you, but I remember you were mentioning something about hotels. Well, I have a colleague that runs this company that they buy room blocks. Okay. So they save companies, and they're like a realtor, so you don't pay for them. They get paid by the hotel.
Yeah.
But they'll knock your room rate in half. So now your members, instead of paying $300, they're paying $150. That's value to you as an association, right?
Right.
Well, I don't get. It's just karma. Like, I'll help her, I'll help him, and down the road he'll hire me, because down the road it's just down. It's down the road, right?
Right.
I'm not going to ask. It's just karma. Like, if you're just a good dude, people want to work with you. If you're not salesy, right? No one likes salesy. That's the problem.
Well, and how do you think authenticity figures into all this?
Yeah. You can't fake it, right?
Okay.
You're either real and authentic or fake and phony, right?
Right.
People are going to sniff it out.
They see it, and in sales, it has a bad connotation sometimes. But I think if you're solving problems and you're helping people, then it's not about the money. I work with a lot of companies, top producers, where they're not the cheapest; they're the most expensive.
Okay.
They don't want to be the low cost leader. They don't want to be the Walmart of bond surety. They want to be, hey, we're the best, and people are willing to pay for it because they know they're going to get this. They're going to get this service. Yeah. They're going to get the authentic, real person. They're going to get referrals. They're going to get karma. Right? The business, like, look, I spend sometimes 6-7 years building a relationship with a client to hire me for a 1-hour speech, and that's it.
Yeah.
I have to go out and find 140 new customers every year.
Right.
So I mean, this group was not going to hire me again because they just had me. But I'll be recommending a bunch of my friends for next year.
Yeah.
Right? I'll help them. And maybe they'll recommend me for some other group.
Right.
There's a million acronyms, right? There's a million groups that they're all involved with, and one will lead to the next. And that's my world. So today I'm an expert in bond surety. My next client makes industrial garage doors. The client I was just with yesterday were people in the hose industry. They make hydraulic hoses. And you'd be shocked. There were 1,000 people there that sell hoses that go into everything you can imagine. This world would not function without hydraulic hoses. I had no idea. They call them hosers, right?
Hosers.
So it was, I become an expert for 10 minutes in these weird things, but you know what? My message was just as applicable. It's about relationships. It's about treating people right, doing the little things. And it's like, it's not rocket science, but when you're here in person hearing it, it clicks differently.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's funny, I was just doing an event up in British Columbia a couple weeks ago, and I was their opening keynote speaker last year during the pandemic, virtually.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I did another program, and I bet you 90% of the people said, oh, it's nice to meet you. What do you talk about? None of them remembered me. Because that's just how bad being virtual is. You watch it, but it's like watching it's like watching Gilligan's Island.
It's not the same thing.
No one. It's like, oh yeah, I watched it. It's like no big deal, and it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or you're not present. But when you're here, it's an experience. It's like going to a show, right? And that's what's cool about you guys broadcasting live, right? Because now it's like it's not like we're over the phone and I'm doing email and playing a video game while I'm talking to you. It's like we're looking at each other in the eyes, and, and that's how you do business. That's why people come here, so they can have a beer, have a cigar, have a steak, and we're gonna break bread. We're gonna build a relationship.
Well, and I love the comparison of sports champions to business champions, because I think we look at sports champions in the media and we hold them up on a high pedestal, and then we look at ourselves and we don't think of ourselves in the same way, you know?
Yeah.
So it really changes the way you look at yourself, doesn't it?
For sure. And finding those heroic things that you do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, whatever.
It's not as easy as maybe scoring a goal in the Super Bowl, but
right. Not everyone has that ability, but I talk about teams and chemistry and roles. So it's not, for these people, for them to be able to hire and keep a great receptionist, be able to keep someone in their back office that's sending out RFPs right now and doing the dirty work, taking care of them, keeping them, that's just as important, right? Because their business does not run without them doing their role. So it's not just the superstars. You've got to have a whole team of people, and they've got to, it's like it's family. You don't always like them, but you love them.
And that's why it's great to have you on, not only, do a live presentation, but on the podcast. So, people can bring this home, share this with their teams.
Yeah.
Help them feel like the champions,
be a better dad,
too.
Be a better mom.
Yeah,
be a better,
true.
I think
yeah,
it
your
translates
life.
to life, right? If you come to a meeting like this and you feel invigorated, I mean, my job as the opening keynote speaker is simple. It's to make sure that people want to come back next year. Mm-hmm. That's what associations are all about. This is a member-driven group. It's not a company saying, here's your annual conference where everyone's getting paid. This is a day off. This is a group of people that said, we're going to invest thousands of dollars to come stay at a very fancy hotel, pay for all the money and the speakers and all the stuff and the amenities and accoutrements, and they want they want to have a good experience.
Yeah.
So my job is to make sure that they have good energy and they're excited and you know what? I want to make Nick Newton look good. Yeah. Nick was my champion today. He stuck his neck out and said, Ross is my guy. He's going to come tear it up, and hopefully we get good feedback. And I've already made a LinkedIn post with a big picture tagging everyone. I'm going to connect with you guys and add you to my post so that it goes out. And that's what you do. I just want to be a cheerleader and share the love and again, honor, acknowledge, thank others. And I think if you do that, like by the laws of karma, you're going to get a lot of business.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, the one thing I really enjoyed was, we think of sports champions, and we see their performance on that given moment. But you really talk about the stories and connect with, what led up to that? Like all the things, all the work that was put in before they could have that moment. As a spectator, you don't always know that. So I really enjoy that.
Well, I like to talk about a lot of the weird outliers too, right? I don't want to give you the traditional sports story. Even when I talk about Tom Brady, I talk about weird things that no one else things that I've learned. And I think people they're like, and someone said to me recently, you should show video clips. That'd be cool. And I said, nah. I want to tell the story.
Right.
Yeah.
People are captivated by good storytellers, and really, I shared a lot of stories today, and some are about huge failures in my life, and I think that's what people connect to. They don't always connect to greatness, but they connect to setbacks and how people deal with all that adversity, and I think that I really challenged everyone in the room to think about their story, about their business, about their website, about their video, about, why would I spend millions of dollars doing business with you? I want to know who you are.
Yeah.
Tell me your story. Why did you get in this business? What do you love about Bond Surety? What is your backstory, right? Are you some huge private equity company that just owns all these little companies, or are you truly a mom and pop? I want to know. If I'm gonna do business with you, I want to know. I want to look at your social media, and I know that if you like a certain politician, I may not like you. That's all part of your brand. As I say, reputation isn't what you say about you; it's what everyone else says about you.
That's right.
So it's like all these things matter, and if people are out liking and posting, doing crazy crap on social, that's a part of it. Don't expect to grow your business if you're gonna, half my clients watch Fox News, the other half are on MSNBC. So I'm Switzerland. I don't have those opinions. That's why I focus on LinkedIn, not Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I can control the narrative.
Which is different. Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
People don't realize these are small business owners, and it's like if any of these things they could potentially crush your business. You'll never know.
Right.
You just won't get the business.
So maybe talk a little bit more about control. Like you just hit on there. It's like, we can control what we do, right? Mm-hmm. But can we control everything? I mean, sometimes you get overwhelmed, perhaps, or...
Yeah. Well, I did this vignette about my Vikings and famous coach Bud Grant and about mental toughness and about what can you control. And then I went through this whole litany of things from the economy and the debt ceiling and COVID and cryptocurrency and blockchain and cloud issues and compliance and regulatory issues.
Right.
All these
the list
things,
goes on.
Bombarding us.
All the acronyms in your industry, all these crazy acronyms, right? And then I ended with all the Chinese spy balloons and Chat GPT is going to take all their jobs, and we ended with murder hornets, right? It was
right.
And it was like it was funny, but at the end it's like all this stuff's happening.
It's like,
and guess what? Every one of my clients deals with the same problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Well, you make calls. you solve problems, you get in your car, you smile and dial, and you focus on the things you can control, your mental health, your physical health. Focus on the stuff you can't control, because there's so much shit happening in the world. You can't control all of it.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. It's going to be out there. It's the people that are the top producers, just deal with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got 2 hours of sleep last night. I'll take a nap. I'll deal with it.
I don't think we can be reminded enough about that kind of like, hey, understand what you do, live passionately with a purpose, but also don't get too caught up and everything else, refocus.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a great, simple, profound message that I think everyone can live by.
That's terrific. Well, Ross, if someone was listening to this, like, what advice would you give them? What should they do to bring out the champion in themselves?
Well, I think that, honestly, educating themselves, and I really think that starts with, if you're listening to this right now, kudos. You're listening to a podcast, you're getting information, you're learning about your industry, you're studying. Top producers read books about other industries. Mm-hmm. They want to be a true trusted advisor. You have to not only understand your industry, but other things happening in the world, and the world of financial services and construction and things that are happening in their world. To be a trusted advisor, you got to dive deep into companies to understand. You got to be their clubhouse guy. You got to let them know where are your blind spots. Hey, there's a problem going back here behind the curtain. They're too busy. They don't know. Helping them make sure that little problems don't turn into big problems. When you're a trusted advisor and you're with someone's company and you're their guy, you're their gal, it's not about the money. They can't afford to not do business without you. We all have those people in our lives that are like, I don't care what it is. You're my insurance guy. I'm paying you. And then there's other people that's like, nah, I'm going to go cheap. I don't care about it. We're going to go to Walmart. But in this business, the best practices, I think, are people that are really the people that give them great service. They're good people. They're good humans. They help them. So, continue educating yourself. Just, be a good human. It's not rocket science, right? Just like... Be good, and I think by the laws of karma, it'll, there's the old saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and I believe that.
Right.
And I know with the laws of karma, we're going to have you back on again sometime.
Absolutely.
I am now an expert in bond search.
Thanks so much for being on with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Kat and Mark. It's great to be with you.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.
Before we go, we just wanted to thank Liberty Mutual Surety again for their generous support in supporting this episode of Let's Get Surety. Liberty Mutual Surety provides contract and commercial bonds for all size companies and contractors around the world. Liberty Mutual is here for you today, tomorrow, together. For more information on Liberty Mutual's breadth of surety products and solutions, visit www.libertymutualsurety.com.